Well, thankfully, Rachel Reeves, Chancellor of the Exchequer, is ready to go. Good to see you this morning. We appreciate your time. The OBR says taxes are going to go to an all-time high as a result of your budget, 38% of national income, and the economy is going to grow at a slower rate than expected. I mean, that's hugely disappointing.
Well, the OBR forecast in the spring that our economy would grow by just 1% this year, and yesterday they revised up that forecast to 1.5%. So we've defied the forecasts this year, and I'm determined to defy them next year and the year after as well. But you're right that the forecasts for future years have been revised down. They're very clear that reflects their verdict on productivity under the past Conservative government. The Conservative legacy does not need to be Britain's destiny, and I'm determined to beat those forecasts again, as I have this year.
Chancellor, in the budget last year, you raised £40 billion in taxes. You described it as a once-in-a-parliament budget. You promised that you wouldn't come back for more tax increases. You've broken that promise, haven't you? Because you've come back this year for £26 billion in taxes. The tax burden now the highest it's been in modern history. So when you made those promises not to raise taxes again, were you being naive or were you not being honest?
Well, I'm Chancellor in the world as it is, not in the world as I might like it to be. Last year I had to fill a black hole left to me by the previous Conservative government. Everyone knew that the public finances and public services were in a mess, but I don't think anybody fully comprehended the full extent of it until I got into the Treasury and was able to see the books. This year, the OBR have decided to do a review of UK productivity over the last 14 years, and they point to a number of things, including the pandemic and Brexit, and frankly the chaos of the last few years under the Tories, and they've made their revisions. But I'm going to beat those forecasts. I've beaten them this year, I'll beat them again. But in the meantime, I've got to live within those forecasts, because we saw what happened when the previous government under Liz Truss lost control of the public finances. Interest rates went through the roof, inflation went through the roof, pensions were put in peril, and I'm not going to take those risks with family finances because it caused a huge amount of damage. So I did have to increase taxes yesterday, but I've kept them to an absolute minimum on ordinary working people, freezing those thresholds for an additional 3 years from 2028. I do recognise that will have an impact on working people, but from April next year, everyone is going to get £150 off of their energy bills, alongside the freeze in prescription charges, the freeze in rail fares, the first time that's happened in 30 years, on top of things like rolling out free childcare for parents of preschool children. All of those things will help people with the cost of living. And of course, as well, yesterday I was able to announce a substantial increase in the basic state pension and the new state pension. The new state pension going up by £575 a year from April next year. So more money in people's pockets, whether those are working families or indeed pensioners.
Yeah, and the two-child benefit cap going. I mean, there were plenty of handouts yesterday for some people in society, but none of that is going to really be affordable unless we can stimulate growth. What was there in the budget yesterday that is going to significantly stimulate growth in Britain?
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living, and maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade, and in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney? Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind the more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver, and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
Yeah, well, look, there was a massive package yesterday for entrepreneurs, and half of jobs being created in Britain at the moment are by those scale-up businesses. And what I announced yesterday was making it easier for those businesses to start up, to scale up and stay in Britain, with changes to the different schemes to enable them to offer tax-free shares to their employees, to give them a break from stamp duty on shares if they list in the UK, because I want those jobs to be created here in Britain. We also are recommitted to building stuff in Britain, whether that is steel made in Britain, ships made in Britain, and yesterday saying that we would focus investment in AI, in government procurement, for stuff made here in Britain. And I made reforms yesterday as well to Motability. And what people noticed yesterday was that we're taking luxury cars out of the Motability scheme, saving over £1 billion in the next few years. But also what I did yesterday is a deal with Motability that more of the cars for disabled people, leased to disabled people, will be cars built here in Britain. Because when we spend money as a government, I want that money to go into British jobs, British supply chains, supporting our economy.
In yesterday's budget, you created headroom to please the markets. You gave away £16 billion worth in benefits to please your backbenchers. You lifted the two-child benefit cap to please your backbenchers after saying last year that it was unaffordable. So it does beg the question, doesn't it? Who is running the country? Is it the government? Is it the markets? Or is it Labour backbenchers?
I am in charge of economic policy. This was my budget, focused on my priorities, cutting the cost of living, cutting NHS waiting lists and cutting debt and borrowing. And I achieved those things in my budget, my second budget as Chancellor of the Exchequer yesterday. I'm determined to grow our economy, put more money in working people's pockets and ensure that when people phone up a doctor to have an appointment, when they're on a hospital waiting list, they actually get seen. And I protected money in our NHS yesterday, as well as rolling out 250 more neighbourhood health centres so people can be treated closer to home in our National Health Service.
I know he's not your favourite person, but Nigel Farage made a very good point yesterday, didn't he, when he said this is an assault on aspiration and an assault on savings. I mean, what for us everyday people, what is the point in us saving for our pensions? Or what is the point of us saving for a rainy day? Because it just seems if we do that, if we sacrifice now to save for tomorrow, we're just getting penalised for it.
Well, it's good that we heard from Nigel Farage yesterday. Still waiting to hear from Nigel Farage about what he's going to do about ensuring that we don't have more traitors in his party. The leader of the Reform Party in Wales is now in prison for 10 years for betraying his country. Nigel Farage hasn't got very much to say about that, has he? And when it comes to aspiration, this government are backing aspiration. That's why yesterday we backed our founders, we backed our entrepreneurs with a significant package, and it's why we saw the stock market go up yesterday, because this government are backing Britain.
Yeah, but what about us? What about the people watching and listening to this now who say, you know, well, if we save for our pension, I mean, you're not going to be able to do it significantly through salary sacrifice anymore, but if you save for your pension, it just seems to be being hit. It's all being taxed more. We can't invest in property and try and work our way up through the property market because you're going to be hit by a mansion tax. What is the benefit of people striving to do better, to look after themselves in their older age?
Well, on pensions tax relief, we have pensions tax relief worth around £70 billion a year. We are restricting salary sacrifice, which was never supposed to be the main vehicle for saving for retirement. We already have generous pensions tax relief, and we're not changing that at all, and we are not changing access to the lump sum tax-free. We are restricting from 2029 access to salary sacrifice, but you can still put £2,000 in a year to top up your pension with no changes whatsoever. But after that, employer national insurance will apply. I think that is the right and the fair balance. It is important that we get that balance right, but I was able to keep taxes to an absolute minimum on working people yesterday by asking those people that live in properties worth more than £2 million to pay a bit more. You know, GBNews viewers know that if you've got a semi in Darlington or Sunderland, you pay more council tax than if you've got a £5 million property in Mayfair. That is not right. It shouldn't be the case that you pay more on a semi in Sunderland than you do on a mansion in Mayfair, and that's why we've introduced a high-value council tax surcharge. I think it is fair and proportionate to ask those in the most expensive properties to pay a bit more, so that we don't have to whack up the rates of income tax and national insurance or VAT that working people pay.
OK, Chancellor, we are out of time with you, but thank you very much for joining us this morning on GB News Breakfast.
Thanks very much.